Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to him, to the worthy one, the blessed one, to the fully enlightened Samma Sambuddha. Yada have patu bhavanti dhamma Atapino jhayato brahmanassa athassa kankha vapayanti sabbha yato pajanati sahetu dhammanti. Yada have patu bhavanti dhamma atapino jhayato brahmanassa athassa kankha vapayanti sabbha yato khayang paccayanang avedi. Yada have patu bhavanti dhamma atapino jhayato brahmanassa vidhupayang titthati marasenang suryo vayobhasaya mantalikhanti. Okay, so this afternoon the discussion will be on what the Buddha actually realized, why he became known as the Buddha, and what actually happened in his mind. Some of you may have contemplated on questions like these in your life, and with that question comes the other question about what actually is Nibbana. Is it a place you go to? Is it something that you experience after death? Is it actually a thing that your mind can experience, see? What is it? Is it even an it? Can we say, this is Nibbana? Or is it just a realization? So when you think about these questions, then we have to go to the sutra that you just beautifully chanted, the first sermon of the Buddha, setting in motion of the wheel of Dhamma. So once the Supreme Buddha set this wheel in motion, nobody could stop it, because it was the truth that was revealed to the world. Nobody could come and say, oh, that's not how you teach it, that's wrong. Because he presented it in such a way that it was so true and everyone embraced it. But why? Why these wealthy men? Why these kings? Why these millionaires? Why these poor people? They all came together and they abandoned anything else that they thought were theirs when they started realizing what the Buddha realized. There must be something, right? There must be something so joyful about it. Greater joy makes you abandon some lesser joys. You abandon minor things when you find greater joy. So this must be joyful. Or is it even beyond the joy, something greater than joy? I think when we think like this, our questions will be more focused and more direct toward what actually should be asked. So in this Dhamma discussion, never feel embarrassed to ask anything that you feel like asking. It doesn't matter, sometimes what you are thinking of will be useful for others. So you should ask. That way we can make it a discussion, and also I understand where you are in terms of your understanding or your wanting to ask a question. And that way we all come to the same page and try to understand what is happening. Okay, let me take you to the time of the ascetic Gautama. He's not the Buddha yet. He was searching for an answer. An answer to what questions? You know, his father made sure that this prince did not see people who are, aged. His father made sure that this prince did not see anyone who was dead. And his father made sure that the prince does not see anyone who is sick. And his father did not invite any monk into the city, fearing that the son will listen to the monks and will run away, because there was the prediction that he might be a monk. So it's the worst fear of a father whose inspiration, intention, goal was to see his son becoming a universal monarch, a ruler to the world, so popular, so powerful. That's just a normal wish of a father who is a king. But then the prince started maturing, and he saw somewhere in the young age, as young as 16, he started seeing, people are aging. They are not going to stay young forever. People die. People also go through illnesses. This is a normal thing to see. But is there a way out? This was so depressing to him. Is there a way out? And if there is any way out, definitely the way I have lived my life, like in all the luxuries, there is a palace for the winter, there is a palace for the summer, there is a palace for other seasons, for the spring. What a luxurious life, good father, right? We all wish we had a father like Suddhodana. Right. And eventually the prince realized, this is definitely not going to give me the answer. Look, my father has aged, and looks like some ministers have aged. The luxury doesn't seem to stop people from aging. Then after, recalling the moment that he saw a monk, he thought, they must be closer to something that I didn't know. Given that Siddhartha had good education and he was inquisitive, he wanted to find out actually what these monks are doing and why they are dedicating their life to simplicity and meditation. Because he had, when he was very young, when he was just 5 years old, he did some meditation. And he knew that, there was something in it, but he just didn't know how to connect the dots. And imagine on the day his son was born, any father would want to give a hug and touch the son and feel it, and that's the nature of a father. You see this rush of love and emotions and all that. Any mother would do that. And Yasodhara was just a normal woman. She was experiencing all that, but Siddhartha was seeing that had he touched the son, woke him up, and seen the beautiful, smile of the child, his other plan will not work out. Because sight of a son, a newborn child, is so strong that it can stop someone from leaving the palace. That was his plan. And he did leave in the end. And we need to think, what was he facing? He was taught many 100 different ways of attaining moksha, liberation. And he knew he had to become so simple that if he doesn't follow what these other monastics are teaching, he's going to become a failure. He's just going to be a loser. So he went to the extreme of it. And I'll tell you, when you study the Prakrit text of the Niganta religion, that's also the ascetics in India. They still live in India, the naked ascetics. Some of them wear white clothes, some of them abandon even wearing clothes to be so simple, so that they don't even have the ownership of a cloth in their life. So, it looks so fascinating that you have abandoned just those basic things in your life. Why? You want to attain moksha, liberation, by doing these things. What other things did they do? Imagine, in Michigan when it snows, you go outside and you think, oh, I will attain moksha if I stay in the snow without a jacket, without moving. What happens? You are going to get a heart attack and die. But those days, it was a belief that once you are on a journey and it starts snowing, you stop there. No clothes, no protection. You don't run to a roof. Why? Even if you run, you are a failure. You are running from life. You are running from the nature. But if you die, that's the best way to die. Imagine learning that and wanting to experience that. When somebody dies like that, all the other ascetics say, oh, he attained moksha through his practice. It appears to be a great thing, right? Because he attained moksha. Nobody knows what was realized by him, but then everybody believes. This is the problem of believing something while actually not knowing what this belief does to you. And then you are walking and suddenly it's dark. So you stop right there. It may be just a jungle where there is no safety, but you stop there. And then you are attacked by animals and you get killed. It doesn't matter, because you will attain moksha, because you didn't abandon your practice until the last moment of your life. Another belief. And you are walking somewhere and you are, hungry, but right there you stop, refusing to walk and enduring that hunger. Why? Because they say you will attain moksha by doing that. You will attain liberation by doing that. Still they have these practices in rural parts of India. where the study into what actually could happen is not fully done. And the ascetic Gautama, he did whatever these other people said, such as abandoning food so that his body began digestion very slowly, and whatever the food he had taken about 2 weeks ago was the only food his body had. The body finds a way to somehow slow down metabolism. We have people who knows how the body actually works here better than I do. And he was not he was not moving, he was just sitting, so that was advised by his friends, he had five friends who were very supportive of this. And the ascetic Gautama went to the extreme of it, and he realized there is no more going. There seems to be no liberation, no moksha coming. And he felt sorry about those others who died by doing this, because he himself collapsed because of lacking any food in his system. Okay. Now, what is left for him? No path to go, right? He's just feeling so lonely in his path. Nobody's telling him the step beyond this. And he realized, okay, I did the extreme luxury for 29 years of my life. I did extreme self-mortification 6 years of my life. There must be a middle way. Majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha. The middle path was abhisambuddha, supremely awakened by tathagatena, by the thus gone one, the one who traveled the path with self-mortification and the path before, extreme luxury. This makes sense. Why? Because he tried the available practices and he realized, no, this body needs some energy. There should be a middle ground between, that's what he called celibacy, true celibacy. You need to feed your body in order to have enough energy so that you can keep a meditation absorption long enough. And when you keep that meditation experience long enough, the truth appears to you. Tānaṁ etaṁ vijjati samahite citte dhammam pātu bhavanti. This is the case that in a concentrated mind, the truth appears. Netāṁ tānaṁ vijjati. It's not the case that asamahite citte, in an unconcentrated mind, dhammam pātu bhavanti. Truth does not appear. It's just like muddied water. Until it's cleared, you don't see what is there under the water. When you look at it this way, you should feel, oh, what a relief. What a relief to him. That what he eradicated was any source that gave him any suffering. He had to put all these things together and use the meditation to see how an experience come into being, and how we are only used to seeing just an experience coming into being. We are never used to seeing the cessation of an experience. It's like a flickering light bulb. You only see the light forever present. We never see how quickly the cessation also happens. Because the mind is so clever that anything that happens in mind seems like a constant. something that is always present. Right? So why did he say that I have found an answer to aging while he was still aging? We need to think. We need to use our ability to question why did he do that? Right? He was still aging and he said, I have found an answer to aging. Then you realize, oh, what he is saying is not actually stopping of any aging in this birth. He wasn't lying. He knew that if he found any cause, anywhere where suffering arises, that is what he abandoned. Okay. Let's go to examine the middle path that he understood. Where do you want to begin? I like the second one because it's easier. Second aspect of the middle path is Samma Sankappa, right thoughts. Right thoughts. Okay, what if you have angry thoughts? There is difficulty in you. There's discomfort in your body. Something difficult to bear is called dukkha. Something easy to bear is called sukha. It's easy, we like it. It's easy to bear, we like it. Okay, angry thoughts, difficult to bear. Right? Thoughts to harm yourself or thoughts to harm somebody else, vihinsa vitakka, easy or difficult to bear? Difficult to bear. Right? When you have a strong attachment to something you cannot abandon, who suffers? You suffer. Right? We want somebody else to suffer, but we are the ones who suffer. So these three kinds. First one is anger. The other one is harming oneself or others. The third one is strong attachment, something that you cannot let go. Let go of. These three. This is about the second aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. And he realized how people suffer by having these three in their mind alone. Right? And he thought, oh, there must be something to do here, something to cultivate in your mind. When you cultivate loving kindness, the anger, ill will disappears. It's easy to bear. It's sukha. Right? When you let go, anything that you are clinging to, it's easy to bear. No more stress inside you. And when you let go of thoughts of harming yourself or harming anyone, easy. That dukkha disappears, and you can now see why middle path was put together by him under the Bodhi tree. How he saw people were experiencing suffering, the difficulty in their psychological state of mind. You can look at a person and say, oh, he is fine. Not really true. He's not fine. If a hand is broken, you can tell, oh, he's missing a hand. But mentally, if something is broken, like a moral injury, do you see it? No. So he started, he put that in the second place of the Eightfold Path. Once, someone realized that, life becomes so easy, right? If you suffer in your life at any moment, you know you are steering away from the middle path, and that is why you are suffering. Especially the second aspect of the middle path. So it's a message for us to come to the middle path. When your thoughts are good, what happens? What you speak becomes sweet. If you are suffering and you want to speak, you don't like what you are saying, let alone others. You don't really like what you are saying. And that way your actions also become sweet. You don't see a point of stealing, you don't see a point of owning things that you don't have a reason to keep. You simplify your life. And your livelihood is harmless. And there are many things that you can be mindful of, but if those are not right mindfulness things to focus on the right way, it takes you in the wrong direction. The simple example is you like ice cream and you eat too much of it, you are mindful of it. Is it right mindfulness? Obviously not. It can get you sick. Sugar, same thing. Right? So then you make sure you are mindful of the right things. When you have simplified your life that way, your life knows what to be mindful of. A simple activity like closing the door, you give full of your being just to do that simple activity. Why? Because there is no suffering inside. So there's no reason that you should bang this door. That energy is not there yet. That's why when someone practices meditation, everything they do seems so slow. Why? Because they don't see that rush of energy in them. And then with right mindfulness, what you do is Samma Samadhi, practicing right Samadhi. That means there were wrong Samadhis at the time of the Buddha, wrong ways to come to stillness of your mind. People came up with bizarre ways to, meditation with this, meditation with that, and all kinds of meditations. But they bring you to some samadhi, but they are not going to give you any awakening experience. So now, we discussed from second to the last aspect of the Eightfold Path. If you know the Eightfold Path, you know we did. We discussed the right thoughts, right speech, right actions, right livelihood, right effort. Actually, we need to also emphasize on that, making right effort. All these words have samma, right, something perfect about samma. Like Samma Sambuddha is perfectly enlightened one. So, right effort, then right mindfulness, and the last one, right samadhi, right stillness, right concentration. And I had a reason I did not discuss the first one in the first go, because we need to stop there and really see what is right way. and how good and why right view is the first one. For that, you need to be in a state of meditation mind to put things together. And we have done this right here, in previous discussions, we have done the analytical part. You all are different scientists and you like to analyze things, mentally and how really things happen. So this is not as difficult as we think. Okay. Let's begin understanding right view now. The simple formula is, when this is, this comes to be. When this arises, that also arises. When this is not, this cannot be there. When this does not arise, this cannot arise. 4 things. So what actually is the thing called this here? The Buddha says, within this very body, within this same body, you see the truth. What truth? The truth that... You want to say something?
No, I thought you asked a question, that's why I raised it.
You can raise your hand when you have something to say, certainly. The truth of the experience is what we are experiencing things, but nobody is really questioning, how. Now there is the external world, the material world, and then the internal faculties: eye, ear, nose, tongue, the body, and the mind. So you can stare at something but you don't see it because you are not conscious of it. So there you see, you need to be conscious on something to be able to actually see. You need to pay attention to what you hear. But do you see that what you see is not the only thing that is happening? You hear someone coughing, you hear me talking. All of these are happening. If what you saw was a permanent thing, the only thing that will happen in your life is seeing only. What a boring life would it be, right? If the only thing that is happening is seeing, then nothing else happens. You are only conscious on one thing. So what happened between seeing and hearing then? That's a good question to ask. What happened between seeing and hearing? How did we, go from seeing something to hearing something? There must be the experience coming into being and disappearing, so another experience comes into being. And this is the cessation that we don't see. That is why we need to see. We need to say Chakkung Udapadi. The Dhamma eye arose. Because the physical eye cannot see this experience. Physical eye can see something external, but the wisdom eye, Dhamma Chakku, Dhamma eye, can show you, from seeing to hearing, there must be ending of the seeing experience to go to the hearing experience. And how fast that happens? So fast that you don't even notice it. And that is why mind should be very, very stilled to be able to realize it. Yes?
Why can't those two things happen at the same time?
Never. they never happen at the same time. We are so ignorant that we come into different conclusions that they happen at the same time. No. Like if you are answering a phone call and I am next to you and I am saying something, will you hear me?
Yes.
You will? No.
Not totally.
Not totally.
But
You do, but will you really be able to respond to me properly? Will you comprehend me?
No.
No. There you go.
But those are different senses, the hearing and the seeing. So they can be processed at the same time.
So what is it telling you?
You can have two senses at the same time, but they may not be perfect as it will be at different times.
Right. So the mind then creates an eye to see, creates an ear to hear. Mind has to be there all the time. That is why the Buddha said, Mano Pubbangama Dhamma. Mind is the forerunner. Mano Maya, it's mind made. It's like something is wooden and it's just only wood. What's your question?
So when you watch a video, you see also and you hear. So I thought it kind of amalgamated it.
Exactly. You see so how fast things are happening in that experience. It's like watching, it's just like a movie pictures. It's just millions of pictures put together to make us believe that it's a motion happening. Yes, do you have a question?
Yeah. I think even if you see and hear a video, we only get what we think we heard and saw.
True.
Completely different.
That is very true. That's why, some students fail classes and some students have the ability to absorb what the teacher says and they pass. Some students have selective hearing and that's natural. That's why the exam system actually is a total failure. They test the memory of someone, they cannot test the intelligence of someone. Anyway, yes.
Is it implied then that in deep meditative absorption, you can still your mind enough and slow it down enough to be able to see the separate chittas or the separate mind moments of hearing consciousness and seeing consciousness?
No. Why? Because in deep meditation, actually you let go of most external stuff that I have, like your eyes are closed, there's no seeing activity. What is present is only the experience of the mind running through maybe what we perceive as the past, what we perceive as the future, or whatever is there as your memory, and they come and disappear.
Is there a way to know it directly, the separate instances of hearing consciousness?
When you know it directly, what you are knowing is knowing directly. It's just whatever you are doing is what you will notice. There is no way you only see things later, after the experience, when you analyze it. Oh, this is how things happen. So, the ignorance that somebody will be driven, I will see it directly, can lead someone for losing 10 years of good meditation, thinking that there's direct knowing there. No. That's why ignorance is to be abandoned. Avidya should be abandoned. This is why in dependent origination, ignorance comes as the first cause that results in thoughts. Because of ignorance, we have these forming of things. Constructing happens mentally all the time. We are mental beings. I mean it in a way that we construct things in the mind. Mind is a good constructor. It needs a cement of craving to keep constructing. And it also needs the cement, the gluing of I making. that it should believe that, oh, it's me, it's Venuri that is happening constantly. It needs to, when you start seeing, oh, I vanished when ear came into being, you will never say, oh, it is Champa. It's just that experience that disappeared. That's how the self-view disappears. There's no other way. Only with the Dhamma eye, Dhamma Chakku, and Jnana, Jnana Udupadi, the knowledge. Knowledge arose by analyzing it. That's why Buddhists are little ahead in this understanding that first we hear there's no self, then we analyze it, and then see, oh, if the I is, the seeing experience is the only thing that is happening, then it should be me that is forever present, seeing something. No. Then me should disappear when you close your eyes. Or the me should disappear when you die. That the body died, so the concept of me, I, disappeared. Then there is also continuity after this. And what is continuing? And how should we look at that continuity experience? Is it just some being? Then all these questions come to be. And only when you analyze those, what continues from ending of this life to the next, then the knowledge arises of how beings are dying and how they are reborn. There's no other way. And that's why the Buddha is the Buddha, that he is the first one to reveal all these things to the world. He went to the best teachers at that time. Nobody taught him these things. And that's why he said, Pubbe Ananusitesu Dhammesu. In the Dhammas, in the experiences, in the truth that I never heard from anyone before, Chakkamudapati, the I, Dhamma I arose. Jnanamudapati, the knowledge arose. And this becomes a fascinating thing to any person who is wealthy or any person who is poor. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with the wealth or ownership. It's only a matter of paying attention, and then you'll start seeing, oh, this is fun, this is true. And that's why, when you hear things like Ye Dhamma Hetu Pabhava Tesam Hetun Tathagato Aha Tesanchayo Nirodho Evang Vadi Mahasamma. Someone comes to realization just by hearing that. Why it's not happening to us? Because I said it in Pali and that I did not give an explanation. Okay, let's look at it. Why did the truth seeker, Sariputta, realize, oh, this is beautiful, this is the path I should be taking, just by hearing this? Whatever the experience, hetu pabhava, come into being because of the causes, tesam hetum, their causes, tathagato aha, were taught to me by the thus gone one, the one who travelled the extremes and then went to the middle path. Tesanchayo nirodho, if there is any cessation of those experiences, evam vadi mahasana, that too is taught by the great recluse. Okay, let's simplify this further. Whatever the experience that comes to be because of causes. Okay, let me stop at just one experience, the experience of seeing. What three things should be there for you to see something? You need an eye. You need an external object like a Vesak or this lantern here. And you need to be conscious on it. That is eye consciousness. Chakku Vinyana. Okay? Meeting of these three, Tinna Sangati, meeting of these three, then now you have a contact and touching this external world. Otherwise you can be staring at this and listening to me and you don't actually see it. Why? Because you are not conscious on the Vesak lantern. And now you hear me. How does that happen? You have an ear, there is sounds, and then you have ear consciousness. Yeah, you can think of the neuro patterns and the brains and this too stops when you are in deep concentration. Your brain stops sending signals to any of these and you are not actually experiencing anything, but still with minimum neural activity there is thinking in deep meditation. And that too can be vanished, that you don't feel anything whatsoever. Let's not complicate this with brain science, but let's see what is behind this simple seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations and thinking. See, eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness and mind consciousness. They all have causes for them to arise. Right? If you are a blind person, there is no eye consciousness happening in you. If you are a deaf person, there is no ear consciousness happening in you. But other things are working. You feel things, so body consciousness is maybe stronger than ours in them. They feel things, and ear consciousness maybe of those who are blind, maybe their ear consciousness is stronger, depending on your experience. But that's not the point. Do you see that for one experience to arise, another experience has to disappear? That is the experience of cessation that we don't see. That's why we need the discussion of Dhamma. And somebody should tell us there is also cessation. That's why you are able to hear something. Right? That's why you are able to, although you may not be smelling anything right now, that's dormant. It's not active right now. And now you analyze this. When ye Dhamma hetupapa, whatever the experience, the true experience, the truth, is conditioned by these causes and conditions. And you start seeing the causes. And when this comes to be, becomes one truth that you realize. But you also have another mechanism, right? After coming into contact with the external, if it is just a Vesak lantern, it's just a neutral experience. You may say, oh, it's beautiful. But if it is causing attachment in you, something that somehow takes you into a lustful experience, there is craving in you. That means immediately in that moment there is some feeling that you like. They are bound together and feeling leads to craving. If it is a pleasant feeling, you say, give me more of that. If it is an unpleasant feeling, take me away from you, take this away from me. If it is a neutral feeling, you ignore it. You don't care because it's a neutral feeling. And there is a danger in that you are not mindful enough to notice the neutral feelings that are arising constantly. This is why the Buddha said, see based on the origin Yoniso Manasikara. See where the experience origins. Prabhava Vashen Dakin. Prabhava Vashen Dakin, again, how something comes into being, and only with wise attention that you can see this experience coming into being. Pachuppannancha yam dhammam, whatever the Dhamma that is happening now, whatever the experience that is happening now, tatta tatta vipassati. We see there and there with a special insight, vipassati. Why did the Buddha use pachuppannancha yam dhammam? Whatever the experience that is conditioned with present conditioning. That's the English. Pachuppan, present conditioning. Yeah.
When we have contact with the Vesak lantern, so we identify it as a Vesak lantern because we have seen it before, right?
That
What
is.
happen if we see something, if you haven't seen something before, and if you see it now, how will that come?
Then we need to. There's hundreds and million things that happen in this experience of seeing, and if it is something you have not seen before, it's like hearing a word that you never used before, and you are cognizing it. You need to that same experience of thinking or hearing, all of that comes into being to create many new consciousnesses, to coin a word that corresponds with the image you see. You will say, oh, this looks like a Vesak lantern from Sri Lanka. At least it's close to something that you have experienced before. Yeah.
So you asked about Pachuppana. So based on my understanding, it's the present moment. Without this present moment, you can say that you look in the past, or you can tell anything about the future, because our mind always stay on the present moment. And
Yadatītam pahinantam appattam ca anāgatam pachuppannam ca yam dhammam tatta tatta vipassati. This is what you just said. Okay, so let me simplify this. If you are thinking of something that happened in the past, when are you thinking it? Right now. If you are thinking that's yet to happen in the future, when are you thinking it? Now. So all we have is now. All we have is whatever the conditioning that is happening now. But we think there is a past. We think there is a future. That thinking happens right now. So we are living with many illusions created by ignoring the truth. Because seeing the truth is difficult, harder, so people resort to the darkness of ignorance because it's easier to go with ignorance. When you start seeing the truth right here, right now, and it becomes more fun to do, and then not so fun to do, and then you are like, oh, whatever it is, let me be in equanimity, let me accept this, and you realize most anger that you had, most delusion you had, eventually vanish when you see your internal experience that led you to be in anger for a long time. Because you are wiser. That's why wisdom is what is lacking in all of us. When you are coming to wisdom, you completely abandon anger. That's what the Buddha did. By abandoning anger, you live a life of seeing the actual experience, how things come into being and how things not come, how things disappear for another experience to come into being. Take as much time as you want to analyze this experience. Only with right effort, sammavayam, you see how experience actually comes. That's why meditation is needed. Listening to Dhamma is needed. You know, two things are needed for right view to arise, the Buddha says. Parato gosa, hearing it from someone so you get to right view, and yoniso manasikara, seeing the origination, experience that arises right here. Pachupannanchayam Dhamma, whatever the Dhamma, whatever the experience, Pachuppanna, that the Buddha never says it as the present. He says it's a time that is pratyutpanna time. Time that has come into being because of the human conditioning, the sensory conditioning. Can you see the world without any sensory conditioning? It's impossible. There's nothing in this world that you can experience without human sensory conditioning. And it becomes more fun when you start analyzing your own experience. So what you perceived as Chandrasiri, what you perceived as Kusala, all of that vanishes. It's only that is an experience that's happening now. If you say somebody did something to you, that's not true. If you allowed it to do something to you, only that happened to you. If you didn't even hear what somebody said, nothing happens in here. But they have said something really nasty about you and you didn't hear it for 10 years. You were not processing an experience, human experience about it for 10 years. So you were free from it. So who creates your own world? When you, that's why the Buddha says, when you thus knowing, when you know that way, will you say that the God created your world? No, it's impossible for you to say that a God created it. Right here, right now, you analyzed your own experience and say, oh, I am the one. I am the one who is cognizing this world. I am the one who should analyze it. I am the one who should take the full control of this. If you keep doing the things you are habitually doing without noticing what's actually happening, you are headed in that direction until death happens to you, and you will continue doing the same things. There is no liberation for you, and that is moksha, that is liberation. Seeing thus and knowing thus, you know you are someone who is being awakened, a Buddhist person, Bauddha, someone who is realizing, a realizing person. I think that makes more sense than saying a Buddhist. See, a person who's realizing the truth. That's where the dependent origination and cessation and the four truths, they all, these are big words. But only when you start seeing what is in there, what is beneath it, then you see, oh, it's all about seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations and their cessation. And that is the only way that one can be free from delusion, moha, one can be free from anger, one can be free from attachments. Until you see this, nobody can remove attachment from you, nobody can remove anger from you, nobody can remove delusion from you. People are so habituated with anger that anything my American friend, she says she's 65 years old, she always says, I am only used to responding in anger for anything. If I don't yell at someone, I don't get it done. And I had so much compassion for her. I so wish that she, they are not willing to listen to anything else. She was editing my thesis. What a beautiful voluntary work. She doesn't need any money from me. She has enough money, and she says it to a close friend like me. But she says, I need to be frustrated about this page, otherwise I cannot edit it properly. I worked in a Buddhist publication society. I was interning there. It's in Somerville in Boston when I was a student. They used the effort so much editing all these Buddhist texts. It was so much fun to see. Look, how come they are editing all these Buddhist texts and they are using? I hear all this, effort all the time. So it's just not seeing the actual experience that is happening to them. So you can. That's why Chundasukarika lived right, in the neighboring land, the next land. He was a butcher. He killed many wild pigs. Did that help him to understand this truth? No, because he wasn't listening to the Buddha. Toward the last days of his life, people heard screaming, and people came to the monastery and said, there must be a party, and that is why that all these wild boars are getting killed. The Buddha said, no, that's him. He's screaming like a pig. He's ending his life. There's no party. Because you reap what you sow. You, yadi sanglapate vijan tadi sangharte pala. Whatever the way you lived your life, that is what you are going to experience. And that's why when somebody came to the Buddha saying, somebody told me that I should live like a dog and I will be liberated by doing that. So I started this 30 years ago. I only eat from a bowl and I walk with my 4 limbs and I have only known the dog world. What will happen to me after death? The Buddha was silent. It's like, I don't want to tell you. The second time, the third time, this person asked. Finally he insisted, please tell me. The Buddha said, what else could happen? You will be born as a dog. Just simple. And toward the end of the life of the Buddha himself, in Mahaparinibbana Sutra, the Buddha was visiting this village called Nadika. And in that village, the Buddha happened to say, oh, these people who were good, who did good karma, they were born in so and so places. And upon hearing that, everybody wanted to know, where did my mom go after death? What happened to my uncle? And the Buddha was so tired responding to all these people. And the Buddha said, just there is this mirror that I'll teach you. If someone used abusive language all their life, and they lived a life like that, just know that they will be born accordingly in a place where they are, they will be attracted to that energy. They only know using abusive language. So they will do that in an angry place. If someone was so generous and they had a big heart, and they will be born in a place, heavenly place, where, without them wishing anything, they receive everything. It's a universal law. So don't ask me these things, the Buddha said. Just know it by their behavior. And then there was this bizarre case of this person who was always drunk and alcoholic. And the Buddha declared that he realized the first step of realization upon death. And everybody was so confused. How did that happen? And the Buddha had to say, he abandoned alcoholism toward the last days of his life, and he followed the precepts. He purified his mind. And it happened by listening to a monk giving a talk. And he then became he had the Dhamma eye, the eye to see the experience on his own. Upon dying, he became a stream winner. He went against the stream. It's just like a big stream that there's no way out, but he saw the way out. Imagine there's a flooded river, and if it needs to be shrunk, you have to start, from now, and then eventually it dries, and you go to the root of it. Right there, you stop. You have a little force to stop that river from springing, river from coming to being. You all are big rivers. You keep flooding your own life and lives that you touch with whatever you are carrying with you. Right? And for you to shrink, you should take the responsibility of it and to go against that flood. That's why the Sotapanna is called someone who went against that flood. And now you see how hard a term that is, how difficult it is to go against something that is flooded, because it's easy that you get washed down the stream and you say, oh, I have my daughter and I must wait until she's graduated so that I can finally meditate and see Dhamma, and you die halfway through. There's no chance for you. Because we always take it for granted. We always think that we have the time. Right, Madhukarana, there's PhD to finish and then there's job to finish. Always something to finish. It's never ending. And you know the moment you took the right decision. Let me actually quit this thing that bothers me for a long time. The relief. And then you get attached to something else. And then you run after it for some time, and then you realize, let me quit this as well. That's called life. A continuous carrying of dirt. And it messes with our mind because there's people pleasing and there's thinking that somebody will treat you right. These are all expectations. Expectation is here, reality is right here. Bigger the gap, there's more suffering. When the two things come together, you are at complete peace. That's why the Buddha is important to this world. He's telling, when you're expecting something, you are, your mind is constructing something that doesn't exist. You say, love me, love me, love me from someone who cannot love you. It never. It's just tiring you because your expectations are full of something that actually cannot happen. And you realize, oh, I lost hundreds and thousands of dollars. I gave this much to this person and they still don't love me. It all happened in your mind. Those people who let go of that, who realize this truth, live like me. Live like a monk. There's no reason you chase after something that actually doesn't. We think, all the unmarried people think that, oh, I should get married and then I'll have a happy life. You just need to know from married people if that is true. And one of the monks, senior monks I know, he asks, he doesn't know why and how people can live together for so many years in the same roof unless they both have the same understanding. You just need to develop some level of equanimity to tolerate the other person and tolerate you when you are suffering. Then only you can live a life that is somewhat comfortable. And now imagine why someone like Prince Siddhartha abandoned the stuff, so many of it, and then still received all of that. Kings offered him things, and they say his carpet was, golden and millions worth. Did it bother him? Somebody offered him the best meal. Did it make him think that, oh, I should live by this person because he offered me the best meal? No. So it was all consumed by his own mind. And then once he leaves that place and goes to another place, whether or not he receives food, his mind will only see the truth. The arising and passing away, udaya vaya, arising of an experience and cessation of an experience. Only then someone would have any peace. Because we monks also think, when you are a small monk, you will be a big monk someday and you will have no suffering as a small monk, no studies to do. Gradually you realize now you have big monk suffering. It doesn't change. Suffering takes a different container. Whether you are a monk, it's inevitable that you go through aging, getting sick. Then you realize, oh, there is something right with me, nothing wrong with me. This is supposed to happen in a human life. You don't stay beautiful forever. It's all your perspective. Knowing thus, seeing thus, your life becomes so simple. It has to. That's a wise person's approach to life. Maha sampatti sampatta yatha sattam matayade. Anyone who had the highest wealth, they died too. Many examples in Michigan alone, right here in Detroit. Your friends with abundance of wealth, but then did they take any of it with them? No. Seeing and knowing that you are staying with the truth. So it's not in a Vesak lantern. The truth is right here, in your own experience. It's not in any monk in YouTube, right? Somebody listened to a YouTube Dhamma talk, and in that this monk said, when you are serving monks, you should put extra food. And he gave a story. The monk said, Visakha, at the time of the Buddha, she served extra food to monks. So when she got married, she received extra dowry. The dowry was more cows, and cows jumped off the fence and came because she served extra food to monks. And I asked, have you ever had cows in your life? When you have cows, you can separate them. They have bonds. They jump over the fence to come to the other cows. It's not because of giving any food or anything, it's just the nature of cows. So don't listen to every YouTube monk. Just listen to Dhamma. If it is right for you, stop there. If it doesn't give you the eye to see the wisdom, don't listen to it. It's not in any monk. It's not in any book. It's right here. It's in your wisdom. I say this because I have been closer to many monks in my life. Many big monks. Monks are like fire. If you get too close to fire, you get burnt. If you get too far away, you don't feel the fire. So monks are helpful, they are guiding, but now this is the age of, Sadhguru says something and Hare Krishna or somebody says something and you think, oh, that's true. But if it's actually not showing you the overcoming of suffering, then it's not Dhamma. It's just a story. So there are stories, that's the way culture works. These stories are beautiful, they are fascinating, somebody did something and this happened and it's good. But it's not the wisdom part. It's good for someone to discipline themselves, come to meditate, but you stop there. But where is wisdom part? When you are missing the wisdom part, you run here and there, listening to every monk, and you are still in the same circle. Like a cow tied to a tree, there's no going further. I'm not saying monks are wrong or anything, I'm just saying take control of your life's direction to you. And read the sutras, read the Dhamma, and then I think you will see how stopping all the listening to YouTube monks and then reading the sutras that match your actual experience and then going a step further is so helpful. Your own mistake, your own experience is the guide. Your own mistake is the next teacher for you. If that doesn't happen, this talk also is, this discussion also is just another useless thing that happens. So we all need to pause, analyze, see what is present in front of us. Right now, maybe we are sleepy, but that's not a forever experience. Right now, maybe we are angry, that's not a forever experience. How did these things, what is underneath these things? Then you need to see, let me meditate at 3 in the morning daily. Is it possible? It is possible. If you go to bed at 7, 8 and not take any dinner, so you will wake up fresh at 3 and you will see something that you have been ignoring so many years in your life. Only by that inner engineering, inner transformation, the truth appears to you and you all live like monastics, monks in your life. It's not in the cloth that you are wearing. It doesn't happen that day. Knowing and seeing thus, only the transformation happens. Then that way you can look at a teenager, you can look at a senior person, any person who is going through some suffering. All you see is, I wish this person knows the truth. I wish that this person sees what I see. That's where true compassion comes to your mind. So you develop the vocabulary, language to share what you are seeing, and you become a true spiritual friend. By doing so, you see what you are saying should be true, what you are saying should be kind, what you are saying should benefit you and benefit them. If what you are saying is unkind, if what you are saying is not true, it's harmful to you, harmful to them, and you are being a hypocrite because you are teaching about being free from anger while being angry about that person. You are only a hypocrite, right? Don't get angry. Does it work that way? No. Only if you are kind, they get the message right there. They get the message. They know what you are saying, you mean it, and you are experiencing it, and that's why the Buddha said, when Ananda, the Buddha's attendant monk for more than 2 decades, said, I see, 50% of this practice is based on spiritual trends. the Buddha said, Mahevang Anand, don't say it. 100% of the practice depend on spiritual friendship. And that is what is happening in a temple, spiritual friendship. Right? That's why when you leave the house and you enter the temple, immediately spiritual friendship happens. You say, don't say that in a temple. Because you are aware that, what is right and what is wrong. It's only in a sacred place, like in a temple, that you have that awareness. That's because, you are trying to be a spiritual friend to someone. But you also say it in a kind way. There's no other way you can deliver that message. You don't. The Buddha, told the Metta Sutta, Karni Metta Sutta, right there, he says, don't humiliate anyone. Why? You don't see any point. You see the truth of your own experience. Nothing is permanent. It's just a moment, and then another moment, another moment. Now you have the knowledge, but you need to see it. You can't fool yourself saying that I have seen it unless you actually experience what the Buddha experienced.
It kind of frees you when you hear it.
Huh?
It kind of frees you. Freezes you.
It can freak you out, yeah. Yes. Do you want to say more?
No, it's like I don't know, when you hear something like that, it makes it like possible sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. That's why the Dhamma is the truth, and everybody abandoned what they believed and they came to right view and they started just being on the middle path. And that made their life so easy. Kings, they joined the order, and this king was saying, what a relief, what a relief. Because all the previous life he had as a king, he had to make decisions, he had to punish people, he had to be unkind, he had to run the ministers and assign duties to them, protect the country. And now he does not see any point of that life. But people think, I will be the king in Detroit and I will have all the happiness in my life. Is it true? No. You have to deal with all the drug dealers and people who are driving bad in the city and deal with police and everything. It's a messy world. That's why, yes.
So, I want to chime in when you say happiness, right? Sometimes I have seen people say that if you are happy, there's no suffering in happiness. But I feel like there's a suffering in happiness. For example, like let's think you are getting a very expensive car, in Tesla, you think you are happy. But every moment, like you are like thinking about it, driving, you are very nervous to take. If you have an old car, you are not worrying too much about it. But when you have new one, like very expensive one, you are always like worrying about it. So under happiness days, so like suffering which we don't see. So every moment in your life you suffer, but it's covered by this delusion. We call it that happiness.
Very true, very true. You can own a private jet. You have just the regular sufferings, like the will is crash, just a thought, and unless you see the Dhamma, and you have seen the Dhamma, you crash and you went not seeing the Dhamma. But if you have seen the Dhamma, you crashed, you accepted it, you ended. There was no... So happiness or unhappiness, these are all our expectations. The truth is always the truth. There you come to equanimity so quickly because you immediately see. That's why when Visakha, she is a big patron to the Buddha, she went to see her favorite child dies, grandchild. And they said, if you are feeling pain in the heart, why don't you submerge, go into the cold water so you will not feel any pain here because you are in cold water. But she was still feeling painful. So she went into the water. Her hair and all got, into the water. And she said, no, I still feel painful. They sent her to the Buddha, and then the Buddha asked, how many people died today in this city? Maybe 10,000. She said, did you feel any pain? No. Why? Then she realized, oh, those people are not my grandchild. There was no internalizing of any of those 10,000 people. But death happens. It's just the nature. And then the relief. Only by seeing the truth you come to the relief. It's like someone who is very happy and now not happy anymore. They go to the Buddha and ask, I want to be happy again. It's just in your thinking. Just just remove I, then you will be happy. What is left with you is happiness. Right? Anyway, enough talking. If you don't have any more questions, maybe it's time to stop. It's 3:51. Do you want to say something? Or this was a nice discussion. It's transfer merits and then stretch so that you can prepare for the 5 p.m. service. May the suffering ones be free from suffering. May the grieving shed all grief. May fear struck be fearless. May all beings be relieved from all sufferings by seeing the truth by themselves. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkhantu sasanam. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkhantu desanam. Akasattha ca bummattha devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkhantu tvang sada. Dukkhapatta ca nidukkha bhayapatta ca nibbaya sokhapatta ca nisoka hontu sabbe pipadino. Hamdinatama Thiruvan Saranai. May the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha be with you. Sadhu, sadhu.